Welcome, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. Let's get underway. We have our study session now, and our first item on our agenda is a report from our South Valley Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Jay Francis is going to make that. Jay, come on up and commence.
Thank you. They send me with chaperones because I tend to give things away if I'm not chaperoned. And I'll introduce them in just a minute. Thank you once again. This is an annual thing. I'm a week or two earlier this year than last year. So speaking of staff, this is who we are. And I've got Jamie and Corey with us tonight. We knew we were in a small room, so we didn't bring the rest, but we've got Dana Reed and Miriam and Diana Lund and Barbie and Missy and Zoram. So as the chamber has grown, so has the staff. It's kind of been nice to kind of put some things on some other people's plate. This is our executive committee. It changed the first of the year with Scott Wester now as our chair, and Rob Bruff has stepped back as just what we refer to as the most recent chair. And Jennifer Sylvester, Heather Curtis, and Dave Dennison with the Gardner Company, and Heather's with Swire Coca-Cola. And this is our board, which both the executive committee and the board, that's why I sleep well at night. They are such great people to work with. They have my back, and we just work well together. What we do, we connect, educate, advocate, and grow. Those are kind of our 4 pillars that we've kind of planned everything around. And then we've added and more, and we'll get to the and more at the end as well. So in Draper, we did 11 ribbon cuttings in 2025. That's what we're talking about, which is just, if you take that and you times it by the number of cities, we just had a record number of ribbon cuttings throughout the South Valley, and that bodes well for what's going on. Regardless of what we're hearing in other places, people are bullish on going into business. Under Connect, we have our committees. We have 25 members serving on our Ambassador Committee. We have 25 members serving on our Government Affairs Public Policy Committee, which has become really robust. We spend a lot of time on the Hill. We have 38 people on our Small Business Committee, which helps us kind of plan some things that is important for small business, some of our boot camps and our business accelerator, that we're providing tools for small businesses. 35 people on our tourism committee, many of which are restaurateurs and hotel managers from Draper, and we'll touch on tourism in a few minutes. And then 24 in our women in business committee, plus 24 junior WIB participants, which is something that I'm really pleased. And we'll be graduating them next month, next month already. Under the Educate, we had 27 graduates from Leadership South Valley. We had 14, which one of them was Mike last year. And then we had 14 graduates from our Business Accelerator. Our Everyday Entrepreneur, we had 14 participants in that course. And I always like to say that our success on Everyday Entrepreneur is sometimes they all complete the course. Some of them go on to start their business, but some of them about session 5 or 6, they say, I'm not ready to start and be an entrepreneur. My product's not ready to launch, which is a success because we've saved them thousands of dollars. It's because a lot of people just think they've got this greatest idea and they run out and they spend thousands of dollars only to find out they should have done a little bit more homework, and this helps them. Our business boot camps, we had 4 of those. We had 127 attendees. Our business boot camps have really become hands-on workshops where small businesses come and get really good hands-on topics around AI or around advertising, around sales, and they bring extra people and they come and they sit with them. They may give them a half hour of instruction and then they go sit with them and help them really get the tools that they need. Under Advocate, we hosted roundtables, we hosted executive forums. We tracked 20 plus bills in 2025, so that's a year ago. And then we had what we called the In the Know, and we had the Robert Spindler come talk about the Big Beautiful Bill, and we had the Wasatch Front Regional Council come talk about their transportation plan for the South Valley. We hosted a legislative review last year about this time with Senator Fillmore and Representative Lewis. Under our Grow, we hosted our Connect After Hours, which is 2 years ago we had a group of most of which were our ambassadors, that said, we want to have an event where we can come and just rub shoulders and connect with each other. And so, it kind of simulated after some chambers call theirs business after hours, and it's just done well. They have not misbehaved, and we've had good sponsors, so it hasn't been a drain on the chamber. And we've held it all across the whole South Valley. Tomorrow night we're having one at Top Golf, if you would like to come swing the clubs. Let's Do Lunch, we had 5 Let's Do Lunch, because we alternate that with Meet the Member every other month. But we had over 728 attendees at our Let's Do Lunch. Meet the Members has become a real popular event where they just kind of come and meet, and then we have 12 to 15 of our businesses get 2 minutes to tell who they are and what they do, and it's a time. They get told to stop, but they love talking. It's kind of, I remember my parents used to go to something called Bring and Brag, and it's kind of, they get to brag about what they've done and their accomplishments, and it's been a great event for our members. Our Women in Business is stellar. It's 10 events last year with over 1,200 attendees, and we're now posting, sold out almost on every one that we're doing. We held one today, and with Caitlin Eskelson from Visit Salt Lake, and we had the market sold out in one of the largest rooms that we have available to us. So. And then under the category and more, we held 3 golf tournaments with over 430 players. We held our Titan Awards at Grand America with over 650 attendees. We had 4 honorees plus the Small Business of the Year. And then we held Shark Tank last year with 10 students pitching their businesses, and we awarded over $9,500 of prize money to go back to those students. $5,000 to first, $3,500 to the second, and add up the rest. Third got the rest. But it's fun to see these kids. We just held this year's just last week, and at the aquarium, they're pitching in front of the Shark Tank to a panel of judges, and you go away saying, okay, the world's going to be okay, because we got some sharp kids out there. Don't go home and watch 10 o'clock news, they'll tell you different, but come to the Shark Tank or you get involved with our junior WIBs, and you'll know that we're going to be okay. Under tourism, I just wanted to share a little bit, because the hotels in Draper do benefit, and they are on this committee, and so as things get planned for the South Valley, they really benefit from this too. But overall, we had over nearly 180,000 visitors because of the sporting events. Now, this is just talking about the sporting events that we help sponsor and bring here. The volleyball, last year we had horseshoes, we had 3-on-3 basketball, we have baseball tournaments. We love volleyball because the volleyball moms, they track that. They spend a lot of money in between games, and the malls love the volleyball moms. But we had almost 41,000 room nights, and we spent just under $100,000 of investment, and we got $66 million back in economic impact. I wish I could do that with my investments of my own, but the top 5 events that came, we had was USA Gymnastics, the National Archery. Again, USA Gymnastics came a second time with more room nights. The first one was 3,700. The next one was 9,000 room nights. Triple Crown Sports, which is 3-on-3. They brought 6,000 room nights. Jam on It, another basketball, 4,800 room nights, and FitCon was 7,000 room nights. And you can see the economic impact on the far right. We also did a tourism campaign. This is 2024, 2025. This isn't, but it was a very successful Come Ski South Valley. The impressions that we got and the clicks, and then when it says events, that's when they clicked on hotels and started looking for hotels to stay. And all of the Draper hotels are listed on our tourism webpage. I guess I can give this report in a year, but our 2025-2026 ski campaign went better than we thought, even though we had no snow. We really got a lot of clicks, and I think a lot of people had planned their vacations and they came anyway. In 2026, we're going to be focused, strategic, and purpose-driven. One of the things we're going to focus on is service and community impact. We want our businesses to think beyond their P&L and be able to get involved in the community and get involved and give back. We're going to help them do that. We're going to focus on business growth and economic development. We have a big initiative on member retention and adding some value so they will stay, because we have grown in the last 4 years exponentially in our membership, and now we need to retain them and keep those members active and engaged. And then public policy is something that, because of the size of our footprint now and the number of municipalities that we're representing, plus the number of businesses, we have to be better. And this last year proved that we have a great co-chairs. We have Steve Foxley from Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield, and public policy is in his DNA. If any of you know his father, Doug Foxley. And then Kelsey Berg, who was with Senator Romney, the Miller Group, and now is with the Olympic Committee as the other co-chair of our public policy. So we're really growing up there. One thing we announced at our annual report in February is that we're starting a Small Business Impact Award, and we'll honor a small business from all 7 of our cities. And we will include that in our annual meeting going forward, but this was something that it's one of those middle of the night, you wake up and you have a thought. And it was 3 days before our annual report, and so we announced it. This slide was made 3 hours before our annual report, and so we're gonna do this one for each city, and we're gonna have it on May 5th at our event room at our office. And you've already chosen. We haven't reached out to them yet, but we're excited to kind of be a little bit more dirt under the fingernails, grassroots with some of these small businesses. I just wanted this, we look at our relationship with you as a partnership, not a membership. There are benefits that you get as some of the other chamber members, but we really look at our relationship with you as a partnership, as kind of an extension of your economic development work that you're doing. Strengthening communication and trust. As we push things out about your city and the things that you're doing, and you push it out, then it's kind of coming from 2 different voices. We have the same priorities of economic development, of growing and being a strong community. And with us sharing the same things that you're sharing, again, that adds to that strength. And we're strengthening the community brand. And then as I started out, we really believe that this is a partnership, and that we really are and feel like we're a partner with you. That's who we are, and we have changed. We used to say better now, and now we're saying we're better together as we have kind of grown together. Did I do it in my time?
I think you did great.
Any questions?
How's the membership grown, Jay?
The 573, 578. I don't know if the 3 became an 8 or the 8 became a 3, but we're just over 570 in membership, which is really, really strong.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And how many cities do you have now?
7.
Okay, because
We've
we
had
came
7.
on board and you only had 3 years.
Yeah, when I started, we had Sandy and Riverton had committed. Y'all were half in and half out, but we got it. And so you were the 3rd one, and then Cotwood Heights, Harriman, and Bluffdale. South Jordan was the 4th one, and we're fine. That's a really good family, and it's been fun because we've also got all 7 of our mayors together at least twice a year on our work initiative. I got a text from somebody after we did that last. He said, "You got the 7 sisters together." So we feel like that we have helped kind of bring some kind of bond together, working together. We had a major role in working with the Wasatch Regional Council in some transportation issues, and because of our influence and because of working with, we think that we can still have that kind of an influence and work to bring things together. We got a lot going on in the South Valley. It's fun to be part of it. There's something out here called The Point.
Have you looked at the new aquarium space for your Titans Award?
Can we talk offline?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we have. Yeah, and it may happen. It won't. Probably not this year though.
It'd be nice to have that event in the South Valley, though.
It would. Today. That's the only place we could consider. Yeah, but because there isn't enough place. Like last year, we were only over 650
I'll call you later this week.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions for him?
No, I just think your Titan Awards that you do is fantastic. It really is a good event.
It's kind of one of our hallmarks. It was an event that, you know, before we had a lot of these others that set us apart from other, you know, local or community chambers. We started that in 2009, and it's been, you know, going ever since. And so we really, that needs to be protected as one of our hallmark events. And we've got some potential. We've only got one honoree coming up that has accepted. We're extending some invitations later this week. The last 2 years we've had 2 people from Draper, so we'll probably miss this year. It's kind of an ongoing.
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Rhett. He's gonna give us a discussion about a monument statue design. Yeah, where's Rhett? I swear I saw him. There he is. You're up, Rhett.
All right, sorry, might have a distraction.
These are
for
cool,
his-
guys.
Hey, Kelly,
Yeah?
his PowerPoint or his PDF.
These are
So the purpose of this study tonight is at your option. It's a opportunity that came to the city, and couldn't have a seat for a sec, guys. It's an opportunity that came to the city. We've gone, we've taken this option to the Parks and Trails Recreation Committee. In a nutshell, I'll let our guests kind of explain a little bit more, but we have a local artist that, Trevor Goff, who does beautiful artwork. We had an opportunity to get an art piece that he designed in Draper City at a grassroots fundraising level, meaning they would go out and they would fundraise, talk with the Corner Canyon Trails Foundation. They would be willing to be the conduit or the foundation that the donations or the money that was given for the art would circulate through the foundation, not the city, so that we're kind of a hands off that way. But really it's just an option to see if you'd be interested in getting a few art pieces, primarily starting with one that we've looked at and kind of identified the arena as also our main trailhead for Corner Canyon and a lot of bikers to come right at the entrance to have an art piece. We've identified a few other places, but this is our primary focus right now is this first piece. And if you like it, we'll kind of give the green light, and if you want to talk about it and come back with a decision, there's nothing set in stone, there's nothing agreed upon, there's nothing in writing, it's just an opportunity. So we've invited Trevor. Trevor is our local artist. He's a Draper, born and raised Draper. Grew up when it was a lot smaller and different.
Is this for city council? Who's city council here? You'll just raise your hand. You guys take these with you?
We keep the handouts, we've also got them on the big screen.
Yeah. So there's also more information here. There's one for you, Troy. Here. Hi. And then, there you go, buddy. Thank you for the opportunity. So our private funding has gotten us this far. I don't know if you're familiar or not with the micro roundabout. That's the first stone sculpture that I built for the city, and we installed that it's like 16 years ago. So since then, I've been following the public art market, have a few pieces around, and throughout that, I've learned a lot about the different cities, counties across the country. In your package, you'll find how like what arts and museums spent last year. So this is also an opportunity for me to do service work in creating a piece that builds my portfolio. It's about community engagement. So there's an opportunity here to engage with the bicycle clubs, the community in different ways to raise money for this. We have private sponsors right now that have gotten us this far, so we're super excited about that. The project's already started in the sense of you'll see do you have the second slide? The second one? Yeah, so we put this in place up there at the entrance of the, I think it's the arena, the Andy Ballard Arena, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the actual live shot, like it would, looking towards north, you guys can see the tent where the arena, and so this is kind of what it would be, size-wise for.
Identify yourself, please.
Ryan Summerhead.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So Ryan and I have been childhood buddies since we were children, right here in Draper.
I'm sorry about that,
Well, it's a, it's a beautiful thing, buddy.
So I planted this seed in Trevor's head because he's been doing all this different stuff, and I was kind of excited about it. I have to be honest, I would rather have it be a runner than a biker, but we have to start somewhere. And I think the bike community and what we have in the sense of a trail system is unmatched. I mean, it is what council and what we've put forward for this is absolutely spectacular. So I was just like, what can we do that would be a give back, that starts something that'd be kind of cool? And so that's where this brainchild just kind of started with Trevor and Trevor just took the thing and started going. So it's been a pleasure to do. So yeah.
And I don't know if any of you ever visited the Utah Arts Festival in the last several years. Several of the large sculptures have been displayed. There'll be more large sculptures displayed again down there this year. Recycling, so this is also recycling. This is another way to put our old parts back together. Also, like this piece here, his face is actually cast. So on the sculpture, there'll be some actually cast recycled metal. There'll be cast in actual parts. These are just models built. There'll be a lot more detail in the hero size. So hero size is 1.5 times the human size. So if you imagine, that makes me a 9 foot tall guy. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have a 9 foot tall, a 1.5 times size of the bicycle. It makes it a monumental piece. They call it a hero size. And so we're excited. We're ready to go. We've been building the studio. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a studio down here in Draper. So I have a nice shop. I have a studio up in Clearfield where I've got room to build, and we're ready to go with it. So with City Council, there's some other pieces in there, some information for you guys to take and absorb into what this is and have the opportunity to grow into. It would be considered like a civic landmark project. You have a lot of opportunity here. It also shows what like arts and museums spent. In 2025, they spent $7.5 million. They've already allocated $1.6 million as of today. In Utah. This is just Utah. Last night, Snow College bid for a $100,000 piece. Park City bids in 2 days for quite a bit. There's art going on everywhere, and it's an amazing market across the country. And what I've learned is there are some really cool parks and recs that do different things throughout their trail and their trail systems and their heads, and it's endless what can be created with it. So there's some fun stuff, especially for City Council in there, some great ideas. And I know we only have a short time, but we are ready to go. So
maybe you need to throw a cowboy hat on that one.
Well, we have a horse. I actually started the horse, because when we sat down, we had some ideas of the horse, the runner, and then the paragliding bench. And so only City Council has, you have the first shot of the paragliding bench in the back of your packet, and then you have the bicyclist. Because there was talk in Parks and Rec at the top of the trail. What's the name of the top of the trail up there?
Top of Rush. At the peak trailhead up there, Peak View.
Yeah, for this one right here, because this one could rotate. It's windy up there, so the wind can rotate that one around. The one back there has movement to it, so it has some cool moving parts to it, and we'll be able to do so like that. It's durable. It's going to be coated with an automotive clear coat. They say it's good for 100 years. So graffiti resistant. But my experience with this type of art, usually the graffiti artists leave it alone. It's respected.
What about teenagers, like vandalizing or breaking?
It's solid steel.
Okay.
I mean, they can go at it all they want, and they're not gonna do anything to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if it did break, do you come back and fix
Oh, absolutely. But it's when we fabricate this at that size, in the stone, and we can have some engineering review, but it's solid steel. So because a lot of the new mountain bikes are carbon fiber, so I can't put together carbon fiber. So we're going to use steel parts to actually create this and mimic the newer mountain bikes.
I could see little kids climbing up onto the rock. Is there going to be anything dangerous they could stick fingers in, or?
No, it'll all be rounded off smooth. You know what I
Okay.
mean? This will all be smooth, ADA compliant, nothing that's going to
The
grab.
rock can change any size, any way
Yeah.
to where that rock is not climbable, if you will. It can be
Yeah.
taller. This is just flat, so you can picture kids getting up on there and
Right.
doing that. In talking to things when we were at the trailheads, when people were looking at it and looking at the sculptures, we were just up there talking about locations and things like that. with the Parks and Rec, we talked about that, and we talked about, you know, pictures, and what would the background
Right.
look like for pictures, and we were trying to find a place for that, so the art, in a sense, Trevor's kind of hoped that it'd be a little bit interactive, that you could get up
Right.
next to it and you could take a picture with it, but again, safety, you know, to where you
Right.
can't rip something off, or you can't hurt yourself, or
Cut
get poked.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so on, so it would be safe enough for you to be able to do it, but then we did talk about, you know, the people that were out there like, oh my gosh, what's this, what's that, and you get 100 questions, so
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
I have a piece that I showed at Utah Arts Festival, and I swear this piece has been touched and photographed by probably 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Kids and families touching it, experiencing it. It's got wood, metal, everything's ground and round, you know, no sharp edges, and people really enjoy it.
So you're looking for council's approval of doing our
Donation
piece
bid.
to
Yeah.
go ahead and raise
Really
funds?
tonight, or you wanna talk about it and let us know later, but I can get with Trevor, but one would be approval to put it at the arena.
Okay.
And two, for them to go out and have a grassroots fundraising, raise money for the sculpture, and when enough is raised, then they would commission the artist to
Pick those
create the
sculptures
real
up.
one. And, we could bring back renderings of what the actual real one would look like when.
Which the Park and Trails has agreed to help raise some of that fund, right?
Not directly, no.
They
Through
weren't.
the
Through the foundation, yes,
though.
The
yes.
foundation,
Yes.
Yeah,
But no public, no money from the city would be, we're not requesting any dollars from the city, all we're requesting is permission, contract, all those type of things to put the thing on city property.
Do we have any liability around this?
We always do. I mean, like, are you talking about like in terms of injuries?
Yeah.
Personal injuries? Yeah. I mean, like in terms of it, we always are gonna have anything on city property is up for potential, injury. Someone's gonna figure out a way. But I would say the risk is present. It's really a question of, is it, so much that you wouldn't wanna do it. It sounds like so far from what we've heard, it hasn't been, an excessive amount of risk based on
Yeah.
so.
it'd be
They have
similar
one
to
of
some of
these.
the statues that we have at historic parks, some of the old
Mhm.
pioneers and stuff.
They
It
have
will
one of
be
these.
in the ground solid.
They have one of
Like,
these
it
down in
could
St.
tear
George.
apart.
No, and
No,
if there's a reason that we want this above ground, I mean, higher off the ground, that you can't physically get up there, we can always change that, but we wanted the natural feel of the canyon with the rock. So that we wanted to feel like, not just on a stick or on a post, something like that, we could raise it up to where it's, not climbable or whatever, but we didn't want to take away from the natural, the corner canyon and what, the craziness that they go up there. I mean, you
Yeah.
probably have a larger liability walking on a trail next to someone, with one of these cool mountain bikes, so, but, yeah.
All right, are three of you in favor of letting them begin fundraising, and are you okay if they place something later to be determined at the arena started off?
Yeah, I am.
Would we get to kind of approve is it this particular statue, is it something similar, or?
This is all fresh parts. Okay, so when we go to 1.5 times life size, right? I've been gathering parts. I'm going to gather more parts. It's going to be colorful. It's going to be beautiful. It's an original piece, you know what I mean? So I really can't tell you exactly right now what piece is going to go where as I put it together, and that's the art. That's the art in it.
Yeah, I think I just kind of echo some of Tasha's concerns about I don't want, having had a teenage boy,
Mhm.
I don't want it to be inviting to them to, mess with it. So that would be my.
I think the more messing with it would be they're going to take pictures with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, will be baseball bat proof. I guess that's the best way to say it. It'll be core drilled into the stone. So the core drilling alone, that shaft alone, is going to be at least 1.5 to 2 inches thick. So this is, heavy duty stuff.
All right, so I got two of you. Is there a third one?
I like public art. I think art is really important for communities and residents.
So you're a yes.
I'm just a little worried about the liability piece of it. I wanna make sure it doesn't fall over on a kid, or someone doesn't get their hand caught, or some dumb teenager doesn't climb up on it and jump off, or.
I'm
We've
worried
got
about
liability
teenagers.
like that though for everything.
Yeah.
We would wanna make sure it's very secure.
And
Pretty
we
low
would
risk
invite
and
engineering to look
got
at
a
it and
good case
review
if
it
you
as
climb
well,
up
so,
on it.
Can you put a do not climb up there? Does that do anything?
We can, as long as people read signs.
Yeah.
But would that say, well, there's a sign and you didn't?
Yeah, and I think there's concern, right? Like, is it an attractive nuisance? Like, does it appeal to a child who wants to get up and ride on it? Like, are they gonna do something dumb like that?
They have a
So,
big one of these at the big trailhead in Boulder, and it's been there for a long time. They haven't had any trouble.
George has a similar one.
Yeah, St. George has a huge one right by their Gold Star. They've never had any issues with it.
I think public art is really cool and something that we should invest
Lynn, are
in.
you a yes?
I'm a yes, like I said, if we can focus on those, safety,
Just,
safety issues.
I want an approval from Tracy, you know? I want you to run it through her a little bit.
Okay.
My other concern would be, we hear a lot from residents that mountain bikers get all the attention and all the glory. Let's just make sure that we move forward and have other public art that honors the hikers
And we have the model of the
paragliders.
horse and stuff like that. It's already
Yeah.
Horse in the hall.
We have a horse in the hall that we're working, you know, just to give you guys other ideas. Again, I said hiker first, but, you know, we have a community that uses that mountain like Disneyland. So, you know, but I do think that is, ultimately, our goal is that this just tips over the domino and you guys start seeing more of this and there's more art in the city that it's really cool. I mean, when we were at Parks and Trails, they talked about, oh my gosh, we could do hang glider. That's in your packet. I mean, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this.
Right.
It just kind of started a firestorm
Right.
of like what would be cool, you know, the
Right.
different things and
A rock
so.
climber.
Yes, 100%. We talked
It'd be
about
nice
that at
to do like a family statue honoring families.
yeah,
of the
yeah,
game,
and we talked about that at Red Rock for the rock climbers and things like that, you know, having something kind of cool that would be neat and different. And so, anyway.
We really don't have a lot of public art.
One thing we did also talk about is tying this into America 250 maybe.
Yeah, so we do have a flag.
Yeah, I've seen the flag down there, so I
It's
painted
on-
the,
yeah.
6 white, 7 red with some antique white and some antique red on, just a piece of red, you know, like a rusted metallic. So another thing we talked about in sponsorship was like racing jerseys, and that's been kind of going back and forth for some big sponsors. Cause I have connections at Geneva Rock, Staker, you know, been around a long time and actually done a big giant research on all the different companies that are here in Draper that donate towards, you know, art. You know, so it's like, it's an opportunity, and you'll read that in here, it's an opportunity to celebrate the entire year of, you know what I mean, of our 250th birthday of starting from scratch. These sculptures are from scratch, and they, you know, we get to turn into something beautiful.
Okay, we got stuff
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do, and we've got 4 people agreed, so time to stop talking, thanks, okay.
By the way, Troy, these are already spoken for.
I was
so
gonna
you
say, I
don't
wanna
have to-
buy one of those,
I
so.
know.
And I want that one down there.
I
That's
know,
how I
pretty
land.
much.
I've landed that way before.
Well, you'll appreciate this, so, you know, cause he has some movement, and
Oh, yeah.
he'll spin his head around and be like, and then here's the best one, he gets to drop the 5.
That's how your arm goes too when you crash.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trevor.
You guys have a great day.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, we have a reason for a closed session to talk about pending and potential litigation against the city of Draper. Is there a motion to enter a closed session for that reason?
So moved.
Motion by Tasha, and second. Fred?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
Okay, I got a second, but I don't have Brenda or Catherine. We have a motion and a second to go into closed. Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Ren?
Yes.
All right, we stand closed for the stated reason, 4-0. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our city council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and get us underway. We apologize for being a few minutes late. We had some other business we had to do. So, first item of business is to call the meeting to order, which I've done. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Director of Finance, Mr. John Vike. John, come on up. Thank you, John. Next item on our agenda is an opportunity for people to make a general public comment to the council. There are, on our agenda, we have 3 public hearings, item 5A, 5B, and 5C. If you're here to make public comment on those public hearings, we ask that you wait until those are called so we can keep our record clear. But if you have a general public comment, something not on the agenda that you would like the council to listen to you on, I have one card here from Eddie and Diana Turpin, and it says here you do not want to talk. Is that correct? You do want to talk? Okay. Got another card from Tyler Ashby. Tyler, you want to speak as well? Okay. I know there's at least two, so let me go over the rules with you. If you look at the card, they're on there. This is an opportunity for comment to the council. We aren't answering questions. It's not a conversation with the council if you haven't done it before. We will listen to you. The timer to my right is at 3 minutes, and everybody gets 3 minutes. You don't have to use them all, but you can. But at the end of 3 minutes, your term will be up, and we treat everybody with that equal level of fairness. But give us your name and address. That'll start your time. And if you can ask the council questions, they'll be rhetorical. Council may address the issues later on in the meeting, but right now it's just an opportunity for you to be heard by the council. So I've got the cards. I'll call up, and I'll let anyone that wants to speak. Eddie Turpin, come on up, sir. Give us your name and address for the record, and go ahead, sir.
Not be second. Anyway, I'm Eddie Turpin. I live on 1120 East, 13400 South, where this has went on for years. They've talked about opening up 13400, approximately 9th East, I think, 945 East, something like that. I was just concerned if to see what I could do, or my neighbors have been in here before to stop that. But if not, I wanted to know if they were going to put in curb and gutter, and if they do, great. If also, even if they don't put curb and gutter, what they need to do mostly also is put speed bumps on that road, because it's going to turn into a flipping racetrack. I used to live on 1565 East, which is Relation Street, in 12400 South, and people would race down that road, and then they put those two big giant speed bumps on the road just east of Relation Street on like 1600 East. It might be considered 1700 East. They had two of those big giant speed bumps, and that slowed people down through the neighborhood. So that's my main concern. If they do that, they definitely need to put those speed bumps in. Also, there's a place in that neighborhood. It's just a little south of me. So if you go to 13400 South, just off of 13th East, and you go down to 1100 East, and then you go south about 2 blocks, about 135, 50 South, and you have to make a left, and you come to another stop sign. And I don't know what that road is, but there's another gate in that neighborhood that takes you out to the 13800, but it's always locked. I don't know if somebody said somebody privately owns that gate, but it's kept there. I was wondering if they could open that up instead of opening up 134, if that's a possibility. But my main concern was if they were going to at least put curb and gutter. But if not that, then definitely put those giant speed bumps. So that would, because right now it's a nice, peaceful neighborhood. You know, nobody comes down through there except the people that live there. If they open 13400 up, that's just going to turn that road all the way from Boulder Street all the way to 13th East, and it's just going to make it a nightmare through there. So there's a lot of kids that live up in that neighborhood, and I don't want to have to be in here for yelling at people going down that road 80 miles an hour. But if you put those speed bumps in, that would make a difference for, like I said, my neighborhood I lived in before on 17th East, it really slowed people down because you can only hit those big speed bumps so fast. It'll throw your car pretty good if you do so. And so that's all I have to say. I was told that the meeting was going to be at 6 o'clock today on this subject, but apparently somebody must have told me wrong. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person, Tyler Ashby. Come on up, sir.
Slide this aside so I can. I've also provided handouts. So my name is Tyler Ashby. My address is 1116 East, 132nd South. I'm here to talk to you today because my mother has almost been hit multiple times at an unsafe intersection created by a developer without permission from the city. There is a steep and unacceptable cost to deferred accountability. While my focus is on a specific developer and a specific safety issue, my words here today go out to every builder in this city. And that message is, you are welcome to profit alongside us, but you will not defer your accountability when it comes to the safety of our citizens and the standards of our community. When we consider the very real constraints that are placed on local governments, it becomes critical to act when possible. Utah is open for business, and I'm glad that it is. Our pro-growth approach has made us one of the most resilient economies in the country when it comes to recessions. However, the other side of that coin is often local governments are constrained with the abilities to limit developers. We here in Draper know this all too well. From developers, private engineering reports, or state-mandated mining rights, right? I don't bring these up as a sore spot. I don't bring these up as a criticism of our leadership. I bring them up for one crucial point. Because our hands are so often tied, when we have the ability to act, we must act. Which brings us to an account of documented defiance. We have a developer in a situation where the city has full authority to act. This developer has built a well over 8-foot sign in a prohibited location. The city has already notified the developer that constructing without a permit allows action at the developer's own risk. Which brings us to asking the question, with this hazard still standing on a public utility easement today, the city stands on formal notice. So we have to ask ourselves, why do we do this and who is benefiting? While I am not personally able to comment on the 12 by 12 triangle that is referenced on the permit, I didn't even know it's a rule. What I can say is the physical reality is undeniable. It is an unsafe intersection. Pedestrians, cyclists, joggers cannot see cars as they approach that intersection. I have never once seen a car stop at the actual stop line. In the photo evidence I've provided you, that's a photo of our own contracted garbage truck driver driving down a private lane, sitting high up in his cab, unable to see over this 12-foot sign.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on a matter not on the agenda for public hearing, but general public comment? All right, seeing no further general public comment, we'll move forward on our agenda. Item number four are items for consent for the council. Item 4A is approval of the meeting minutes of the February 17th, 2026 and March 3rd, 2026 City Council meeting minutes. Item 4B is approval of the assessment in lieu for Stony Brook Homes at 997 East, 13450 South. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent items.
I have a motion by Bryn to adopt the consent items. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tasha?
Yes.
Second by Tasha. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, Bryn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Well, that item is those items are approved unanimously 4-0. Item number 5 is a public hearing. It's 5A is a public hearing regarding the providing of local consent for a single event permit for HVPC LLC, DBA Peak Pickleball Club. Travis, go ahead, sir.
Okay, local consent for HVPC LLC. It's for a single event. They're going to be holding this single event on April 11th, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's going to be at 1055 East Draper Parkway, Suite 300. And it's going to be called Dinks and Drinks Spring Fling. Single event permits allow for the storage, sale, and consumption of alcohol for a limited duration, which is up to 120 hours, and they're just doing 3. Qualifications. There's some limitation on how many they could apply
Travis,
for.
you put that mic more right in your face.
Sorry.
Thank you.
There's a limitation on how many a single person or organization can apply for in a year. And this organization has only applied for one so far. So they meet that qualification. And our action is to provide local consent or deny local consent. And as a note, our code says there's no limitation on the number of single event permits the city can grant.
Thank you, Travis. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council on item 5A, providing local consent for single event permit for HVPC LLC DBA Peak Pickleball Club? All right, seeing no public comment, I'll close the public comment period. Bring us back to the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve providing local consent for a single event permit.
All right, motion by Ms. Lowry to approve 5A. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. Any further discussion?
It was Miss Dallin.
Huh? Oh, Dawn, did you do it? Man, I'm deaf in that ear. Sorry. Let the record reflect. It was Catherine that seconded the motion. I apologize. All right. Who made the motion? Yes, Tasha. Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes.
All right, sorry. Item's approved 4-0. That takes us to item 5B. This is also a public hearing. It's ordinance 1708. It's an ordinance approving the Kimball's Lane Junction Development Agreement amendment for approximately 21 acres of property located at approximately 632 East Kimball's Lane within Draper City. We'll have a staff report by Jennifer Jastrzemski. Jennifer, go ahead.
Great, thank you. So you're all familiar with this property. We've had a development agreement last year on it, as well as the stationary plan. But it's between Kimball's and 119th South, and just across the street from the Kimball's track station. Historically, most of it's been farmed. There were, up until recently, 4 homes on the property. It is in the residential high-density land use designation, as well as the RM2 multifamily zoning designation. Just to kind of remind you about the Kimball Station Area Plan, that's looking at all properties within a half-mile radius of the track station itself. Our stationary plan specifically looked at properties that were kind of ripe for redevelopment, vacant land, that kind of thing, and right next to the station. So it really concentrated on this property as well as UTA's property. It did look for multifamily housing on the property, as well as a trail along the creek and a connection for these two pieces. Okay, so the proposed development agreement before you tonight, it maintains that density that's already been approved at the 25 to 27 units per acre. It does fully comply with our parking code, so they're not asking for any deviations in parking. They'll change the name from Kimball's Junction to Kimball's Station. They have quite a few different amenities within the community for their residents, a clubhouse with a pool, workout room. They have a dog park, playground, seating areas. They're proposing a public trail along the East Jordan Canal with good faith efforts to preserve existing trees. That trail is on our master plan, but I want to take a second to talk about what that good faith effort for trees means. So the canal runs here. You can see this section of canal is actually on a separate piece of property, where this section kind of skirts the subject site and the property to the north. So as they're going in and they're putting that trail along, their property and along that canal, they're going to work to keep and preserve the trees that they can. But like right here, you can see a bunch of trees, but they'll have a road that goes through here. So they will have to remove trees from here for that road and the bridge that will go in. So there will be some impact to the trees, but the goal is to preserve as many as we can. And obviously the trees that are on, private property that are not part of the development, they can't impact. Let's see, I had one more on here. 119th South will be used for emergency access only, and they will have removable bollards to prevent access generally. Site design standards, they have specific building elevations in the development agreement for approval. building heights to be up to 54 feet. So the condos, they have a 4-story building and a 3-story building, and the townhomes will also be 3 stories in height. They're asking for a pedestrian network design that I'll go over versus having a strict sidewalk on both sides of the street configuration. On parking spaces, they're asking for a 2-foot reduction on the length of both carports and parallel spaces. And then overall open space reduction from 30% to 25%. Setback standards, 10-foot setbacks from public roads. Our code is kind of dependent on the height of the building, 3 stories or less, or over 3 stories. And then they're asking for 10 feet in between buildings on site. Driveways, they are requesting 18-foot deep driveways as well as garage setback of 18 feet. So our code generally requires 20 feet for driveways. Alleys and roadways, the street system will be 27 feet wide. Alleys, sorry, there we go. It's going the wrong way. I apologize. They're requesting 20 feet on the alleyways. Our code typically requires 26, and I do have an image of those alleys. So that would be your 20-foot alley here, and then each unit has the 18-foot driveway. They're requesting to eliminate the land use buffer next to Juan Diego. They will have a 10-foot buffer adjacent to residential properties along the west property line with an 8-foot wall. Signage, requesting 2 freestanding monument signs at the different entrances, and then the signs would comply with monument sign standards within our code for height and size. Public streets, for Kimball's Lane, they want to do an integrated sidewalk park strip. So instead of having a traditional park strip with trees and then a sidewalk, they want to do a 10-foot sidewalk with trees planted in grates, kind of similar to what we have here on Pioneer. It would allow for small deviations to be approved administratively without having to come back and amend the development agreement, as long as those 2 standards there are met, that it's not, won't materially affect the overall design and is necessary due to unforeseen technical engineering issues. And then it does set a standard that if there is a conflict between the code and the layout and the designs, the layout does supersede, with the exception of life safety and fire protection. Okay, so the actual drawings that are the exhibits, this is their overall layout. So the kind of green, grayish color are your 4-story condos. The brown is your 3-story condos, and then the yellow is your townhomes. So this would be the clubhouse building. You can see they have several open space areas. Each townhome building, each townhome has its own garage, and then each condo building does have a row of 10 garage spaces as well. Open space on this plan, you can see the red is actually those walkways. So this is their proposed walkway system. Our code does require crosswalks. They have not requested any deviation to that, so there will be, crosswalks provided when they come through for their site plan, but that's what their pedestrian connections and network would look like. Some images of the open space, the clubhouse, and then some additional amenity spaces between playgrounds, dog parks, sitting areas, the pool area, that kind of thing. And then the trail would be here along along the property line abutting the canal. Building elevation, so these are their 4-story units. They have units that have peaked roofs and then units that have more flat roofs. They're 3-story units and then the townhomes. Parking, like I said, they're not requesting any deviations to parking specifically. They will have garages, they'll have covered and uncovered, and they will have some areas of parallel on-street parking in just a few areas, but it does fully comply with our code for parking. So Planning Commission did forward a positive recommendation on this. They had a couple of recommendations. They wanted to see the language in the development agreement clarified, that canal trail will be installed and dedicated to the city. And these next 3 were actually recommendations from staff. The first 2, staff wanted to make sure that it was very clear in the development agreement that any public improvements, public right-of-way would comply with city standards, except for where it's been outlined in the development agreement to do otherwise, and that would be that park strip sidewalk configuration along Kimball's. And then the developer had been proposing to not, the staff had asked for a half cul-de-sac on 119th. The developer had proposed to not do a cul-de-sac, so we were asking for that. The developer has since submitted an updated development agreement addressing the Planning Commission recommendations. So this is the language that they're proposing to put in section 3.2.2 that does talk about construction dedication of the public trail along the canal. They are agreeing to install that half cul-de-sac on 119th South. And dedicate that to the city, and then the clarifying language just that public improvements will comply with code. And I just have a couple images here. Like I said, I believe the houses have been taken down. But yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Jennifer?
I have a couple. I have a question about some of the variances for the setbacks. I'm concerned about going from 15 feet to 10 feet. I feel like that's about a third of the amount variance that they're asking for. So I'm questioning that, as well as the variance for the alleyways. It ends up being a total of 8 feet that we're taking away. If you talk about, the alleyway being 20 instead of 26, and then the driveway being 18 instead of 20. That's a total of an 8-foot deviation for that area as well. So I'm just concerned that it's going to feel like we've just crammed so much stuff in that space. And in addition, with also saying that there only needs to be a 25% open space. So I feel like all of those factors might contribute to a really dense feeling space instead of more of a community that's open and walkable. And
well, and I'll point out the alleys, the 20-foot alleyways. There's 4 of them, 5 of them. They're right here, here, and then here, and I think right here as well. So they're not the whole project. The majority of the project will have 27-foot wide roads throughout. So there is that. It's not every building isn't served by a 20-foot wide alley.
So sorry, there's 3 on project or
so there's
parcel
this
2
one,
and
this one, and then this one here. And I'm not sure about these. I'd have to go in and.
But on the other parcel as well, or are those
Oh, you know what, these two would be as well, sorry. These two would be as well. So those are the alleys, and then the rest are the 27
Yeah,
foot.
but that's going to be the main access to those townhomes, correct?
Yes.
And then the driveway's been reduced to 18
Yes.
feet. So I share a similar concern, Bryn. Because, an 18-foot driveway, can you park a truck in that without going out into the street?
I'm not sure about a truck. A standard car you can, but I'm not sure about a truck. Yeah, so these are questions to ask the
that's
applicant
pretty-
on their design.
Okay, because I feel like it's
So-
double, right? We've put one variance against another variance, and so it's, do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and
I think to
Yeah.
Bryn and Fred's point, this being part of a station area plan, there were many things that we could not control with this project, including density. To now be in front of us asking for so many deviations from code is a little worrisome. I'd like to know that there's a really good rationale for these requests, because otherwise my assumption would be that city code is right and proper.
So my thought is the RM2 zone really is designed for townhomes. So our existing RM2 zone is designed for townhomes, 12 units per acre, condos, things like that. So it is designed for development that's quite a bit less dense. So with this project, it's got a lot higher density than what our standards were designed for. So I'll use open space as an example. The RM2 zone requires the 30% open space. For a transit-oriented development, 30% is extremely high. 25% is even probably high for a transit-oriented development. So I think it's trying to design a high-density project with code that's designed for still high density, but not as high density.
Because there's nothing in our code that goes up to 24 or 25.
Correct. Yeah, everything that we have that has higher than 12, it's in a commercial special district zone or a transit station district zone that has specific standards for that development.
Can I ask on that, and just on those variances? So that was the one that I was curious. You had said that they were asking for a variance on the open space, and so it's zoned for 30%, and what is it that they're asking?
25.
For 25, oh, okay.
Yeah, they want 25%.
So my concern would be, because this is more dense, perhaps we want to be even more cautious with things like these driveway lengths.
Okay.
Because if we do have a bunch of trucks that are sticking out into the alleyway or the roadway, I can see that becoming a traffic issue.
Especially if it's only a 12-foot road that it's sticking out into. That could, and that's not a one-lane road, so you're going to have vehicles parked across the street from each other. Those driveways are going to be facing each other. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
I think it's a problem.
It's not the density that's my concern. It's the proximity between each of these buildings and driveways and things.
Well, I think to Bryn's point, we want it to be a community, a livable community. And if the trucks are bumping into each other as they're backing out, it's not going to work.
Or a van, a minivan, even. I mean, that's tight.
I think it might be helpful to see, just because you said that we don't have this kind of density. Our zoning isn't necessarily. It would be interesting to see in a transit-oriented development in another place where they have the shorter, what they're asking for. If we could see that and see, I don't know if it exists. Do you know what I mean? But seeing an example of what it was, because it just feels a lot smaller than than what we have. So it would be interesting if that has been done before and it works without feeling
Yeah.
cramped.
We can do some research and bring back some projects that kind of have similar setups. I don't have any off the top of my head to, pull up Google Earth and show you. But that's something staff could do some research on and bring back.
I think it would be helpful to know, kind of what those standards are, and if some of these deviations fall within those standards.
Okay.
I think my other big concern, do you mind going to the sidewalk? The one that illustrated the sidewalk? And I will say that I do feel like this is fairly walkable, but I had a lot of little kids at one point in my life, and I needed to feel like if I was walking around with them in a stroller and some out and about, that we were walking in a safe spot. And I'm concerned that some of these don't really connect from one place to another with a sidewalk. So like that lower row of those like townhomes, there's no sidewalk on that private drive right there. So if they wanted to walk around there, they couldn't really walk safely to get to 119th. Do you see where I'm saying?
Yeah, and 119th, the public portion of 119th ends right here. So everything west of that is private property. So they would need to kind of come over here to get to the public portion. But yes, I see what you're saying on taking a look at those connections.
Because I just think for me, walking was very important, and I think this is a community that we want to encourage walking to tracks, to Pirate O's, to those kinds of things. I just want to make sure that the connections all make sense.
Well, and they're going to be conceivably walking within the development to go to these different amenities, right? So let's make sure that the sidewalks all connect throughout the development. It's kind of difficult to tell on this picture where the sidewalks actually are.
Okay, we could work,
Just
yeah,
the
so
red
you could
lines. So
request
there's nothing
another
here.
exhibit for walkways specific.
Like, if the red lines are the sidewalks, it seems some of them just kind of dead end and they don't connect into the next project. I'd also like to see where the crosswalks are.
And then I just have a couple other questions, sorry.
Okay.
So I noticed that in some of the stationary plans, we talked about lighting and the standards for that. Will those be addressed in a site plan?
Yes, so they have not requested any deviations to lighting within the development agreement, so any lighting would have to comply with our code. Okay. We do have strict lighting standards, pole height, foot candle levels that they would have to comply with.
Okay. And then, will we be getting an updated traffic study now that we have a little bit more information?
So yeah, so with the site plan, they'll be required to do a traffic study.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jennifer right now?
Okay.
All right, this is the public hearing. It's ordinance number 1708. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council on item 5B, ordinance 1708? Hold on, Paxton. You're not the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council? This is the public hearing, this item right now. If you want to come up, give us your name and address. Go ahead, ma'am.
Mary Schumann, 402 East Mountain Berry Drive. I'm just asking a question about that traffic study. Is that something that's going to be made available to the community? Is that something you're going to visit set a hearing for to look at, or how does that work?
It's not a question and answer period. It's a public comment. That's your comment?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the process was on accepting this kind of high-density development prior to the traffic study results.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
I just want to make a comment.
Give us your name and address, sir.
Eddie Turpin, 1120 East, 13400 South. I just Googled how long my truck is. You were talking about with the 18-foot driveway, 18 feet. Well, I have a Toyota Tundra crew cab with a small bed. That's 19.47 feet, so 19 and a half feet with a short bed. If you have the long bed, that's another foot, so that's 20 and a half feet. So you can just take that into your driveway considerations. Now, I don't know about sidewalks, just to throw that out there.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council on item 5B? Ordinance 1708. Come on up.
Sylvia Anderson. I have rental properties. One of the addresses is 655 East, 1900 South, and it backs right onto the project. I would be concerned in listening to the number of variances, just as Ms. Johnson was, that these are very tight. The city's codes are being reduced. I understand this is to be a tight project, but when you reduce the parking spaces and some of the sizes of the streets, that's going to cause future problems. It's almost like, can we move some of the density some other way so that you can continue having spaces? Another thing I wanted to bring up to the city is that about 30 years ago, when the Catholic Diocese bought the property further to the, well, in between these two projects, no, further to the west of these projects, the discussion in the city meetings was 300 East and what was going to happen because the project was right in the middle of the right-of-way. At that time, the discussion was, yes, this is a public right-of-way, and the city public would continue to use that right-of-way with only having that right-of-way affected occasionally. And it seems to me that's been reversed, where usually you don't use that right-of-way. So it may be worth investigating what the agreement was, because what I see in looking at this is, yes, there will be a traffic study done, and we will have confirmed what we already all know. Traffic is a huge issue. It's an issue now. You're adding 500 residences. It's going to be a problem. And so to look at this with ideas of how to diffuse the traffic in different directions, even at this time, maybe even just in your council meetings, I don't believe that this is an issue primarily for this developer. I'm saying it's an issue for the city, and that this is going to continue exacerbating the problem. So those were things that I just wanted to mention for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing no further public comment on this, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Mr. Guyman, do you want to address the council from your side of the?
Yes, thank you.
Give your name and address back.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Paxton Guyman, General Counsel for Edge Homes. Our office is here in Draper City, just off of 2nd West. I appreciate your time tonight, and I assure you, you are asking all the right questions. And we have dealt with these issues over the last 9 months as we have come up with this plan to present to you tonight. I want to take a step back and just remind you kind of where we're at and how we got here. You'll recall that last June in 2025, we got a development agreement and a rezone approved by this same body. And at the time, there were concerns about a station area plan being crammed down from the state that could have resulted in apartments with 40 units per acre. And so I think there was a policy-based decision that you made, a well-founded decision that we were better off approving a project that would be owner-occupied, that provides for 30 workforce housing units with additional price credits and subsidies from the developer, that provides for a product mix, but primarily a density that we all agreed upon. A density that would be not less than 25 units per acre, not more than 27 units per acre. And we knew at the time that there would be a lot of requests for code exemptions. Why? Because the city only has one zone that even comes close to this density, and that's the RM2 zone. The RM2 zone contemplates about 12 units per acre. Let me just tell you, there is no possible way to comply with the RM2 zone and hit the zoning or the density units that were approved when the property was rezoned. It is not possible. Maybe we could come close if all we built were 4-story condominiums in this entire project, with not much open space, with not many common amenities. The reason you are seeing so many requests for exemptions is because it allows us to do a few really key things. Please bear with me as I recite these. One, we have a great product mix. We have 3 different residential products here: 3-story condominium buildings, 4-story condominium buildings, and townhomes. That provides a different product mix and price point for the varying demands of the market. It also provides for variety within the project, which is a nice element. By having this sort of a layout, we have a lot of open spaces. It's unheard of to have a project that's 25 units per acre with 25% open space. We've achieved that. And we've done it through the very things we're asking you to approve tonight. You look at the alleyways. I know that was a concern you rightfully raised. By the way, this is not new. We have built communities with the same 20-foot wide alleyway cross-section with the 18-foot driveways. And they function well. Now, you're not going to fit an F-250 with a long bed, but we don't design our projects for that buyer, candidly. If somebody wants to be able to park their F-250 with a long bed in their driveway, this isn't the project for them. That's fine. Nothing requires us to design to that standard. But we do fit the majority of cars with an 18-foot driveway. And if we could pull back up that image, Jen, that shows the private alleyways with the driveways next to it, keep in mind, let's see. Oh, now there's so many pictures, I'm not sure where it was. But you not only have the 20-foot wide, there we go, the 20-foot wide alley, you have the 18-foot driveways there. So it does, there is more room for backing out and pulling in. It's not just a 20-foot alleyway right up against buildings. You've got the driveways there to provide additional space. Please.
You're saying that's a 20-foot, those private lanes are 20 feet wide?
The total cross-section of that lane is 20 feet wide.
And then 18
And
on
then
each side for the driveway.
On either side. So, I'm happy to address the various questions, but I think we need to keep in mind what we were trying to accomplish when this project was approved. And I can tell you, I guess the best way to look at this project is that it's like a puzzle. You've got the land, the zoning, the policy-based design objectives that we want. That's like the picture of the puzzle on the box that we're all trying to achieve. But some of the code requirements are pieces that don't fit, they don't work. And so we're asking for exemptions from those code requirements to allow those pieces of the puzzle to come together. And if you stay rigid on some of those code requirements, the puzzle doesn't come together. We literally lose significant density the moment you say, we want a 26-foot wide cross-section here. It doesn't work. We have analyzed this from every engineering angle. And what you see is our best effort to meet the density that was approved and still provide a project that has open space, pedestrian trail connectivity, a product mix, and a functional, livable community. I can promise you this is much better than a 40-unit per acre apartment project.
You have to understand that what you're saying to us brings us back to that moment where we're being told we have no choice but to approve this. And now you're wanting variances on things that we do have some control over, right? Like, we would not be approving station area plans if we did not have to, right? So we both, you and the council, want this to be as good as it possibly can be.
We really do.
And so having some concerns, I think, is very normal because some of this was forced upon us. So we're doing our very best to address those concerns so it is livable.
I agree with you. I guess I would say, what would you change and still give us the minimum of 25 units an acre?
I mean, you're welcome to lower that if you want. None of us are going to say no. Hey, I'm okay with 15.
Yeah, I mean, can I go back to the sellers and ask them to lower the price they had us pay for the land? Because that's the same position we're in.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of
We bought
components.
the land after you approved the zoning with the vested density. That's my point.
There are a lot of elements of this that I really like. I really want Draper to have more housing that feels like a community and not just housing. So I love a lot of the amenities that you have, and I understand that it's a trade-off. You could, instead of having amenities, put more housing in, right? I would rather have the amenities than the housing, quite frankly, just because I want people to stay here. These can be forever homes for people. They don't have to be a temporary place to live. But along with that, I want it to feel, I guess for me, it's a lot about the feeling that people have when they walk through here and that they're living here. And I appreciate that the clarification from, Jen as well, that in our city code, we don't have anything that addresses, 25 units per acre standards really for housing. So I think that was helpful.
Yeah, and I think I share some of the concerns about the variances, but I appreciate, I definitely I wasn't on the council then, but when I came, like the 40 units per acre just felt overwhelming for this area, so I definitely am happy about keeping it at a lower density than the state requires for the transit-oriented development. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I like this much better than a bunch of only 4-story condo buildings.
That really is the alternative.
Yeah, I like this mixed use. I like the community feeling like she's talking about. I think that because maybe we don't have a precedent really in our community that we like the feel, that we like that 18-foot driveway feels short, right. Even though maybe it's not for a development like this. So I think so. Some of the concern.
As far as the livability, I wanted to point out that on our condominiums, every condominium unit has at least 3 bedrooms. And the reason I think that's important is that you talk about having families that are stable, a stable community. There's not going to be a condominium unit that's less than 1,200 square feet. Now, it might sound small to a lot of people, but there are so many condominium units that are 600, 700 square feet, 1 or 2 bedrooms max. We're providing housing that families can actually stay in for a while they have some children. That's what helps with the sustainability, being a stable community. And I won't, I still have to say, we've made very serious commitments about this being an owner-occupied project. We can't sell to institutional investors. We're providing 30 price-restricted units to school teachers, city employees, first responders. There are some really good benefits to the community from what we've already negotiated with the city. We're proud of this product, and I believe you will be too once you see how well it's built out.
Yeah, I think that's a big concern, is that we want this to represent Draper well, and it is different from anything that I think we've seen before. Sure so we want to make sure that it's done well, done right.
Thank you. Any further questions for me?
Can I ask Jen a question? Just on those alleyways, I was just looking at the slides, and they're asking for alleys at 20 feet, and the code requires a minimum of 26. Is that a separate code for alleyways, or is it we don't have a separate thing for streets and alleyways, and so they're asking for a variance from a regular street to create an alleyway?
Yes, so the multifamily code has a standard for alleyways, and that's the 26. What it doesn't have is a set standard for street widths for multifamily. Typically with those, we're looking at fire code, not the zoning code. So they
So like I said, they're proposing 27-foot wide streets throughout and then 20-foot wide alleys.
Okay. And I would assume the 27-foot wide streets meet fire code?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clint, this is all okay with your guys? You're confident in your access, your turnaround points?
Yeah, this has all been reviewed by our fire marshal, and in terms of access and turnarounds, it meets fire code.
Jen, were the main concerns that were voiced in Planning Commission, were they addressed in the changes that were made since?
Yes.
And
yeah.
are those the same concerns that planning staff had?
Yeah, so the Planning Commission, sorry, this mouse is little. Okay, I won't touch it. Item 2 on this, those 3 items were staff recommended recommendations to Planning Commission that they included in their recommendation to you. The first item there was a recommendation from the Planning Commission directly. So all 4 of these have been addressed by the applicant. So that's
To a
language.
point that planning staff is now okay with it?
Yes.
Okay.
So the reality is we have the densities already set. I mean, that's not going to adjust. So we have a choice whether we decide to push for 26-foot alleyways and then we're going to have 4-story buildings throughout and not have a development that's going to be more fits better, where you're going to have townhomes and things like that, where it can be a little more diverse. So that's part of the give and take that we have. The density isn't going to change, right? So I think those are things that we have to consider when we look at this. Because I do like the mix of the townhomes with this. That was an important thing to us. And to have the 3-story, 4-story, so it wasn't just one big tall development. I do like the trail access too. I think that's important. That